I'm Kristie Greco Johnson, Senior Vice President of Government Affairs at the National Business Aviation Association. I'm here today with Jessica Jones of the FAA. Jessica, welcome to NBAA. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Congratulations on your new position as Executive Director of FAA's Office of Advanced Aviation Technology. Now, you've been at FAA for more than 15 years, and you've seen a lot in your time, including most recently a reorganization at the FAA, one of the largest that the agency has seen. Tell us how the new office fits into that larger reorganization.
All right. Well, thank you, of course, for having me. It's always a pleasure to sit down with you and your team. So the administrator did the FAA reorganization in alignment with his Flight Plan 2026, and he is, better aligning us safety. He's putting us in a better position for safety, enhancing our operational excellence, which is totally important for any government agency, and then opening the door to more transparency and accountability. So this group is one of three that were either up-leveled or sort of moved out or created. One was our safety management organization. So you have the safety management system that's been being pulled together for one data-driven safety message. We have our airspace modernization office. We all know about the brand new air traffic control system. They're working that heavy with the program management office from the air traffic organization and NextGen that have now all come together. So they'll still do their research and their installations, and they'll be driving forward installs and all of that, making the new NAS a better NAS. And then you have our group, which is the Office of Advanced Aviation Technologies. And this office was created because they realized the emerging technologies and the importance of focusing on that, and that they needed an office to help to bring together all of the players to safely integrate these new technologies into the airspace system. So that's really what this office is doing. This office is here as an integration force, a collaboration force to bring all of the resources together within the FAA, because that's one concern, right? Making sure that we have all the right people at the table on the federal side, but also with industry.
No small feat. That's a lot of moving parts. Tell me what your priorities are in this new position with this new office.
Yeah, so, one of my huge priorities and, coming down from the administrator is really cutting the red tape. How do we take those barriers, break those barriers? That's a huge thing in any federal agency. The silos that are built are often difficult to pull down. So one of those is the barriers. The other piece is, the collaboration aspect, right? So in this role, in integration and in bringing together everyone, you're still going to have us working with everyone across the FAA. So we're working with the air traffic organization because we have some complex operational issues to address that affect innovation and integration. We're working with our security organization. When you think about new entrants into the NAS, there are some security concerns that need to be addressed. We're working still with flight standards and with aircraft certification. So you'll see that all of that work is combining together, and there's a cross-agency look in this organization. And that's really, what we're doing. We're in the center of it all to bring together the moving pieces so that folks can focus on the great things that they're great at, while we say, okay, but have you considered this? Have you considered that? Other areas, the other groups are looking into this issues. How do we help you all bring together the administrator's plan and then share that up through the deputy administrator?
Tell us what you're working on somewhere there in the middle with new technologies on the horizon, research, testing. What's your focus there?
Yes. So in this group specifically, we have a team dedicated to research, testing, and evaluation. This team is responsible for the test sites. And as you all saw this year announced, we added Choctaw and Indiana as test sites. And so in those test sites, we use that information, working very closely with our aviation safety folks and with our research and development folks that are part of that airspace modernization office to really make some strides in aviation research. Other areas that we are researching and that will be part of this will be, moving forward in other technologies like supersonic. We are also working very closely with our safety management organization on counter UAS technologies, sort of integrating those technologies into the NAS, testing them, ensuring that they are safely used in the NAS. And, we're working closely with our Department of War colleagues to help to ensure that we're keeping everything safe. So that testing group goes across multiple areas, multiple ranges throughout the FAA. And, we even have done some work with Department of War on directed energy. We're participating in their directed energy pilot program. And that was part of the NBAA that was signed Section 1089. In that section, they talk about counter UAS systems at 5 locations. They have to do it by the end of the calendar year, and they cannot do that without the FAA. So we are part of that testing and research umbrella to ensure that we're not just making a decision based on a list of facts. We're actually going to these test ranges and locations, and we're seeing it live. We're seeing the demonstrations. We're seeing those technologies before we make a decision.
Now, you talked about cutting red tape and wanting to move these ideas, these projects, these initiatives forward. What is key in cutting red tape in your mind? How do you do that?
Oh, data-driven decision-making,
Okay.
100%. The data that we gain from testing, the data that we gain from things like EIPP, the additional data that we gain from BVLOS as that takes off, all of that information being spooled together and used by our safety folks to actually show that this is actually a safe direction that the FAA is headed in. I think that we can tell the public that it's safe. Public acceptance is a very important part of what we do, but we have to prove that it's safe. And I think that this goes in line with, again, the administrator's flight plan, that we are giving the public their expectation of a safe and secure NASA.
Sounds like a good plan. So there's some major milestones coming up too in this space, which we're expecting in the next few months. The Beyond Visual Line of Sight, BVLOS rulemaking. How would you say this new rulemaking will pave the way for new entrants, including passenger aircraft for autonomous operations?
Yeah, so BVLOS, absolutely amazing. I stepped into this role, and immediately that was one of the first things that everyone wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
How are we getting there, right? And so when you think about higher altitudes and longer ranges, you really have to consider beyond visual line of sight. This is a step on a huge continuum of regulatory framework. This is getting us closer, but it's not really just the only answer, right? And so we'll use things that we see from BVLOS. Once that comes out, we'll all be totally excited to see it. And then we'll be able to look at the data that we're gaining from BVLOS and use that to move forward with other regulatory work in order to really enable these operations safely. So this is a step on a huge continuum. This is not the end-all be-all, but it actually helps us to get closer.
But we need that first step in order to advance and expand.
Exactly.
Another expansion and major initiative is the eVTOL integration pilot project.
Okay.
Our members are very excited about it. You have chosen 8 projects across 26 states, and we're going to see some new advanced air mobility operations in the coming months. When do you expect these, and what should we expect to see when those launch?
Yeah, so, EIPP is one of my favorite things to talk about. Got stepped in this role, and within 2 weeks we were doing the announcement.
Yeah.
So totally exciting. Again, 8 selected participants that are the leads, the 26 states. And also, we have, all of the major, U.S. OEMs, which is amazing work as well. So we have all of the signed OTAs, which is the other transaction agreements. Those are finished. That was just sort of the baseline of, we've got to make an agreement with the folks we're doing business with, right? Contractually and all of that. The next step is the appendices. This is where we get to the grit of what's important and what we want to see from these demonstrations or operations. So we have folks from all offices, including folks like airports, right? Because you have to think about infrastructure at airports and of course, flight standards and certain. So we have them building in what their needs are as part of the appendices. So what do they hope to gain from this, right? We don't want to just do it for the sake of doing it and show that we can do it. We want to do it to move forward and to advance the technologies. And so what you will see is we'll be getting those signed, those OTAs signed already. Those are signed. The appendices, next step, we'll be getting those signed this fiscal year.
Great.
Once we get one signed, right, because we have to, based on the flight plan for the administrator, EIPP is all in it, right? And we have to get one of these signed by the end of the fiscal year. Then within 90 days of the signed appendices, you will see a demonstration. So this calendar year for sure, we're aiming to get it done earlier. If if we can. There are some that are easier to do, right? So let's think about some of the things we're going to be doing here. Cargo might be a bit easier, but when you think about things like the passenger use cases and examples, that's going to take us some time. It's going to take us a while to get there. So you will see some of the lower hanging fruit, the easier ones, just so we can demonstrate that, hey, this is possible. We can make it work. We've seen it work. And then we'll head over to the harder, more complex types of operations and use cases as we move forward. But definitely this calendar year, you'll hopefully this fiscal year, even if we can get it done earlier, you'll see this work, you'll see it moving forward, and you'll actually see an EIPP demo.
Wonderful. Well, we appreciate the administration's attention to advance air mobility, to advancing new technologies, to moving certification forward efficiently and safely. I think the safe integration of these new technologies is going to be revolutionary. We appreciate the leadership.
Oh, thank you.
I will ask you in our final question, how do you see the future? What do you expect the rate of change with the attention that the administration has on advancing these technologies, moving through certification, moving through entry into service? How do you expect the day-to-day NASA operations to change? Tell us what you see in the future.
Well, I will start by saying something that we always say at the FAA. This is an amazing time in aviation, right? But even specifically with the AAM industry, we are seeing active demonstrations now before EIPP even came out, right? And that work is being done on my team. Right. And so within our office, we are already coordinating those types of activities. Right. What I see is that we hit the point where from some of our human in the loop, demonstrations and some of our other reports that where we see some areas that are not as successful, we're able to clean it up and make it better. So two areas that I often point out is in air traffic operations. There are some areas that we need to address, right? And we can do that through EIPP. That's where we'll get those lessons learned, and we'll clean up the areas that aren't perfect yet, right? We'll get some lessons learned and we'll make it better. Infrastructure, that's a huge area that I think every state is looking at a little differently. And so we really want to lean in a little more on infrastructure through even EIPP and see if we can get folks on the same page, right? Because, a smaller airport, does it really need, 3 or 4 or 5 vertiports? I don't know. Right. And so we will be able to use our analysis from all of that work. I think over the course of EIPP is really supposed to be 3 years. That's really where they're starting, right? And we know these types of pilot programs continue, and they continue with good reason. But within those 3 years, you're supposed to see a passenger operation. You are supposed to see the cargo operation. You're supposed to see, emergency and medical sort of lean in and use this for the good. And so areas in the future where there's heavy traffic congestion, we hope to help alleviate that. Where there are concerns for rural areas, we're hoping to make it easier for them to travel and to have access to goods. And so I think through EIPP over the next 3 years, we're going to see significant leaps and bounds because this administration and the department, through their national strategy, has really put us in a place to be successful and given us the resources to do so.
Well, the investment in time and energy, attention on entry into service, thoughtful integration is, I think, important for this technology to launch into service, to scale, and to be able to expand for everyone's access. So thank you for your attention to these issues. Thanks for giving us some insight into the work that you're doing. Congratulations again on the new role. And thanks for being with us today.
Of course, and thank you for having me. We love working closely with you all, and we understand that you all have the FAA at the front of mind as we move forward together. So definitely appreciate it.
Absolutely. Looking forward to working with you. Thanks. Thanks again to Jessica Jones for her insights on the FAA's new Office of Advanced Aviation Technologies and for her work to help integrate new technologies into the national airspace system, which will help keep America a leader in aviation globally. For more information, please visit our website at nbaa.org.